Hello and welcome to the B Roll, your backstage pass to all things PNMC. I am your host, Angela Ray, and we are excited to present a wonderful slate of guests for you tonight who will be talking about all of the planning coming up for the 2023 Pacific Northwest Multicultural Reader Series and Film Festival. So, what is this festival all about? Well, it's an inclusive multicultural festival that gives space and highlights in the artistry of the underrepresented playwright, filmmaker, and actor. And so, right off the top, I want to bring onto the digital stage the gentleman who had the vision. He is an actor and a director actively involved in the arts within the Portland metropolitan area for 30 years. In 1995, he became Passon's Arts Artistic Director and currently serves as its board president. So please help me welcome Mr. Jerry Foster. Jerry, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Hi, Angela. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate the work that you do.
Oh, thank you. I am excited for this collaborative effort, really highlighting some of the exciting things that are being planned for this year's festival. So I want you to just tell everyone off the bat, where did you come up with the idea for the specifics of this festival? Because of course, there are film festivals, there are theater festivals all around the country and all around the world, but this one is a little bit different. So talk about how you came up with the idea for the festival.
Well, first of all, the idea came up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I sat up in the middle of the bed and said, there's something's missing. And one of the things about it is that, artists from all over have to deal with certain things that in terms of trying to get their work out there and a whole bit. And I knew that it wasn't just relegated to just one ethnic group. And so we got to working with some young people at what we call the Peace Festival, where we brought in young people from all around the city, from the different groups, and got them together on stage. And we're saying, one of the biggest problems that we're having is the communication aspect of it. How come we can't sit down and have a conversation about what affects us as artists or what affects us as people? Because as you know, in some groups, certain words are words that are very offensive to them. And so we're saying the only way to be able to figure out what it is that needs to take place is that we sit down and have this conversation. And so what brought about us doing this, and even with the first festival itself that we did, which was virtual, a lot of those things were true, that they deal with the same type of subject matter that we deal with in terms of colorism and in film and industry, as well as colorism in theater and the whole bit. But to get back to your question, we decided that it was something that was needed in order to get that work off the shelf. There's a lot of work that's sitting on the shelf, and it do not get to see the light of day. So how can we bring those works to the light of day? By bringing us all together and putting it in a festival to where we can actually critique one another, we can actually support one another, and to be able to make this gathering a gathering of friends and colleagues, more so as a gathering of those who sit on one side of the room, and then you have those that sit on the other side of the room, and we never meet in the middle. So we're saying this festival, we're making sure that we get a chance to meet in the middle, and then we can branch off from there.
And so last year, of course, 2022, we were still in the thick of what we are would call the pandemic. And not that it's completely over, but certainly people are a lot more comfortable gathering, and we've learned a lot more about how to gather safely. How would you describe what you were able to accomplish last year with the virtual festival?
Well, we did the virtual festival was 2021, which is still at the thick of the pandemic. And it had been in the plans for about 5 years that we were going to do it, and then the pandemic kind of derailed things, and we're saying that we're not going to let that stop us from bringing these works to the stage. And so in doing so, we were able to, I think we brought in 15 plays and 13 films. I may have the numbers wrong, but it was a lot. It was a lot over a 4-day festival. And we worked tirelessly to make sure that that happened. I didn't realize how much work was into it. I think I like to do the live version better than I do the virtual version, you know. But it was a large body of work, not only with the films and the plays or the scripts, but also too with the panel discussions that we had. I think we had like 7 panel discussions that were there, along with workshops and things of that nature to bring about that information that we felt it was so dutifully needed.
Wow. And so I talked a little bit about the entire name of the festival, this being both Readers Theater as well as a film festival. What made you decide to focus on Readers Theater as opposed to full productions on a main stage?
Well, for one, you get more plays in, and you can offer more works. You put it on a main stage, you're looking at, the full gambit of doing a production with the sets, the lights, the sound, with the costumes and rehearsals and things of that nature. We know that there are people who really love to hear or go to play readings. And so we just said, well, let's see what we can do with this. And what we found out, there are people who really love going to play readings more than they will going to see an actual production. And so we said, okay, let's explore this even further. And so what we found out was that there are a lot of artists or playwrights from around the country, who works are just was just sitting there. And it's interesting that we talk about this, is because I remember having a conversation once with August Wilson in North Carolina, and we were talking, and we brought out Jitney, and I asked him how did he write it so fast. He said he had already written it, but he just hadn't put it out there, and so he had set it away. And then one day he was going through his desk, and he found the play Jitney. And he said, well, let me take a look at this and read this again. And he went in and he made some edits in the whole bit. He said, well, I'll put it back out there and put it out there and let's see what happens. And so when he said that, that kind of inspired me to want to be able to look around and find playwrights whose stuff is still in the drawers or sitting on the shelf, and not gaining any public view. Even there are those that don't even see the light of day, you know. And so that's when I really started thinking about that, making sure that those plays do get to see the light of day. And plus, you're being judged by your peers, so it's all a process you go through. You go from the table read to the reading, to the stage reading, to the stage. So it's all that process, and a lot of them don't know what those processes are. And so we just give them a little bit of what we can give them, and hopefully they'll take it and run with it.
So this year, 2023, we're going to be in person. Those readings, we will have actors on the ground in Portland, as well as directors. Of course, there are going to be we'll have a few celebrity guests who will
Correct.
also be a part of our panels, and then also our films. Overall, what would you say that you are looking forward to the most now that we're going to finally get this thing that you've been planning long before 2021 actually in person and on the ground? What are you looking forward to the most, Jerry?
Getting everyone into one room and having a great time. I think that's what's really needed. We work so hard at our craft, And yes, we put it out there and people see it in that sense. But then when we're sitting in a room among our peers and we have a commonality, then we're able to have great conversation and like I said, and have a great time. So I'm hoping that from this that people get a chance to see the new works that are out there, or see the old works that's out there that haven't been seen before, and to be able to get some of these get these playwrights work seen where they can end up in theaters around the country, and not just sitting on the shelf.
So we're talking about the plays right now, but there's also another component to the festival, which is the film festival component. And so I want you to just stay right where you are. I'm going to bring on to our digital platform the curator of the film festival component, Miss Kathryn Mobley. Kathryn, thank you for being here tonight on the B roll. So
Hi,
excited to have
everyone.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Angela. Hi, Jerry. How are you guys doing?
I'm well. I am well. Thank you.
Good. Good, good.
So, Kathryn, catch us up a bit. Tell us your background with film because this is not your first rodeo putting together a film festival. So, talk a little bit about your backgrounds and your expertise.
Thank you, Angela. And thank you so much for inviting me and having me on your program. I have been working with films, I guess, really all of my life. I've loved films. I mean, I grew up with films. My father introduced them to me when I was really young. And I've always liked the offbeat films, the ones that um, didn't necessarily win big awards, but they captured you either through dialogue or cinematography or camera angles and moved you through these intricate stories that couldn't be summed up with an explosion or a car chase. But these were stories that reflected real aspects of human life, whether it was in the United States or in other countries around the world. And so those are the types of films I've always been interested in. In terms of my background with film festivals, I got my start with the National Black Theater Festival in 2003. I was working with them. I was the office manager. That's also an international film festival, and I kept coming into the office and finding on my desk films. There was a DVD here, there was a DVD there, and I ended up with about 5 DVDs. And I asked the executive producer at that time, it was the founder, Larry Leon Hamlin, what am I supposed to do with these DVDs and why do they keep finding their way to my desk? And he said, well, they're films. I said, I get that. I understand that. But what am I supposed to do with them? Find a place for them. I said, Larry, this is a theater festival, not a film festival, a theater festival. We focus on the live performance. And he said, just figure it out. And what I quickly realized is when performers are not on stage, they still have bills to pay. They still have to pull an income and build up their savings and be able to plan for trips, whatever they want to do. But they still have to make money. Thus, they turn towards commercials and or films. Thus, the films I was getting. And it started out in a hotel conference room where we just created a little theater area and I hung up some literally it was writing on a piece of paper and just hanging it up on different places on the in the walls in that area. Hey, free films, just come and watch. And we would run the films for I mean just back to back and that was it. So then in 2005 I was working with a festival and helping to pull things together. And lo and behold, I come in one day and there are films growing on my desk. And I thought, oh no, not again. This is not good. And so I arranged for a little conference room and I've got a computer, I've got a projector. I throw them in there. I ask one of my tech people, can you just stay here for a couple hours and just run these films? And that was it. 2007, it happens again. I'm like, okay, wait a second. Wait a minute. This is just getting out of hand. And this time I have about 12 films. So it's gone from 3 to 5 to now 12. And I said, all right, let me make a schedule because I had people calling saying, "Hey, I left I know my film. I sent my film into you, and I just wanted to know when is it scheduled." And so in 2007, we started the National Black Theater Festival Film Fest, and it grew from there. And it was just amazing to me the artistry that was being presented and shared, the perspectives. Now, I got to tell you, when I've some of the early submissions, they were a bit, they had some challenges. um, but the greatest fun I had was as I was going through the submissions and selecting films to screen was actually talking with the filmmakers, and they had these fabulous stories in terms of how they were inspired, where their storylines came from. And then we started talking about real practical things, shooting at night, um, coming up with the money for CG, designing the CG. And by the way, I do apologize. Someone decided to turn on their lawnmower right as I started talking. So I do humbly, oh my Lord. Is
It
it?
it happens like that. You know what's really crazy is we're 3 years into this thing, broadcasting from home, doing interviews from home, and yet it seems like what can happen sometimes does happen. I think I was going live about a month ago, and the leaf blower guy came 2 inches outside my door. Unfortunately, I caught him just before I was going live. And my neighbor thought it was hilarious because she captured everything on her Ring camera. Like she said, your body language was amazing. You got him up out of there very quickly. So we certainly understand because that's where we are, where we are.
It
Uh,
is.
definitely.
So,
So
I
you grew that from 2003 to 2007.
yes, and actually we just had one 2022 where we had 32 films from around the world. We also we had our first animation, which I was so excited about. I love animation. And we had sci-fi, we had action, we had comedies, we had some thoughtful, kind of emotional, soul searching pieces. We had some really, really interesting, an interesting collection of films in our lineup. And now we have gone from staging in a conference room to actually staging in an arts theater, an actual movie theater. All of this happens in downtown Winston-Salem. I should have said that earlier. Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That is the home of the National Black Theater Film Festival. So that's where I've been working for more than a dozen years. And
So
now
you're bringing that experience here to
I
the
am
Pacific
bringing it.
Northwest Multicultural Readers Theater. It's a long title
I
and
know.
film festival, but you are bringing that wealth of experience, well over a decade of
Mhm.
curating another festival here to the PNMC. And so, what are you most looking forward to in terms of the films that will screen this year?
I am number one, I'm excited to come to Portland. I am so, so excited. And I'm excited to provide a venue and a platform for independent filmmakers who have some really in your gut kind of stories, that are going to, number one, reflect a variety of cultures and also show a perspective of everyday life that most of us may not have even considered, that we just haven't thought about. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
Awesome. So you are over the films. Of course, there
Mhm.
is another part of this festival, and that is the Readers Theater. And
Mhm.
so we have August Bullock, who is curating that part of our festival. So we're going to bring August to the digital stage to talk a little bit about what he is most looking forward to with the Readers Theater. August, welcome to the B Roll.
Thank you, Angela, for being here. And hey, Kathryn, how are
Hi, August. It's so
you?
good to see you.
Same here. Same here. Um, what I'm looking forward, of course, the whole aspect of Reader's Theater is bringing new works and undeveloped works so that they can progress to whether they will be a stage performance or a film or both. Um, the whole the whole focus of a Reader's Theater from our perspective is it is performed in a safe environment. It's read. Of course, it is the audience understands that there will be no scenery, there will be no costumes, there will be no lighting. You're here to focus on this new script. It's sort of like a giving birth to something. And then afterwards, after the reading, the cast or certainly the director or playwright will come out, and there is an exchange between the audience and the actual playwright, where he or she can engage with the audience about what worked, what didn't work, um, and this feeds the playwright. This feeds his work or her work, and of course, it's up to that playwright whether or not they use it. But the whole idea, the whole concept is that this feedback from this audience that just heard your work will help fuel your motivation to go on to the next level. Because ideally, we believe that you can have a fantastic set, you can have, lasers, you can have gorgeous costumes, makeup to go along with it. But if your script is weak, that play is still going to be weak.
Mhm.
However, a strong script may not have all of the bells and whistles, but they can still have a wonderful production if that script is tight. And we believe that Reader's Theater is a part of that process of tightening that script, making sure the plots together, the logic is there. So that's sort of what we hope to bring out to Portland as well. Yeah.
And August, tell us a little bit about your background. I imagine, much like all of us, you probably have been a part of the National Black Theater Festival as well.
Uh, let's face it, National is the mother of I'm I'm from the branch of the DC Black Theater Festival. That was my official entree. However, just moving back a little bit in my previous life, I was an educator, and a part of my experience with reluctant readers or students who weren't successful in reading, um, there were little journals called weekly readers, or sometimes a newspaper would have a pullout, and they would have a little play in it. And that same reader that would not want to participate in the group or have difficulty with fluency, somehow in a reader's theater where we all have certain roles and we all have certain aspects and we have this character, they were much more fluent, much more confident, much more willing to participate. And they would remember more when you would follow up with comprehension questions. So while it was the very basic of Reader's Theater in a classroom, that sort of opened my eyes to the fact that this is something that could very well develop. Now, as I move forward to working with the DC Black Theater Festival, I submitted a play, and I was surprised that the play uh, was selected. To be honest, but it was called In the Lounge, and uh, during that summer of its production, there were probably 12 other plays, readers going on at that same time. So that's how I got introduced to DC Black Theater Festival. It was a sellout and all that. But afterwards, I became interested in the organization of it. So went to the director and I said, this is my background as an educator, administrator. I'm wanting to be an artist, and I just want to know if there's some way I could help out. And he said, sure. Uh, he said, we'd love to. And it sort of started with just organizing it to, the whole process. And that kind of got me hooked. And then, of course, meeting some great people, great playwrights, great actors from the DC area spun me off to actually attending a national festival where that just kind of multiplied, and then going down to Atlanta, which is also a spinoff of national, that same type of thing. So that led me to where we are today, as far as working with PNMC. And the vision, as Jerry shared, I think is one that is so inspiring because we are moving just beyond a region. We're looking at a movement that will go internationally with the same basic core of exposing new works, having stories that haven't been told, be told by the actual playwright, and of course, getting that feedback to help make that product become better and better and better.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to some of those, to sitting in on some of those readings, because I tell you, as I have gone to see some stage readings, it's been amazing to hear those works, and then to sometimes know that I sat in on a reading, and maybe 2 or 4 years later, that play is being mounted, and it's on stage.
Yes,
So it's a great process to be a
yes,
part of. So
yes.
I'm going to bring everybody back on so we can have almost like a round robin, if
Okay.
you will. We're going to bring Jerry back onto the digital stage, as well as Kathryn. I'm going to bring everybody inside the room as we do this round robin question. And so I'm just curious, any one of you can take this question. What do you see as one of the biggest challenges to people of multicultural backgrounds and getting their art produced? Anyone can take that question.
Hmm. I'll look at it from the film perspective. Sometimes it's just a financial thing. They have an idea, but they may not necessarily be familiar with the steps to cleanly produce a film piece. And many times young filmmakers, or I'll say novice filmmakers, will have it in their mind, I'm going to produce a feature. So out the gate, they want to produce a feature. They'll say, that's what Spike Lee did. He borrowed all this money, used up everybody's credit card and everything, and he made this feature. But that is a truly arduous experience, especially if you are also working full-time employed, or maybe you're full-time in school, or you have another life that you're also responsible for and trying to manage. So I encourage individuals, new filmmakers, go for a short, go for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You may say, oh, there's no way you can tell a decent story in 5 minutes. Oh, yes, you can. You very much can. And if you can tell a strong, solid story, similar to what August was talking about, in 5 minutes, then eventually you'll be able to grow that to 10 minutes, to 20 minutes, to 30 minutes, and then to a feature. Also, with shooting for producing a 5 minute piece, it's not going to drain all of your financial resources. And shooting a film, just like mounting a play, it is time consuming. It takes a lot of time. So again, you're making a small investment, because it's not just actually shooting the film, but then you've got post production on the other end, and you may want original music. Again, that cha-ching, that cash register is ringing, ringing, ringing. So I think that's one thing for novices in filmmaking don't necessarily consider. Another thing, and this is something I've experienced in attracting films for this specific festival. I've gotten a lot of inquiries from Israel, from Turkey, from Iraq, from Iran. And these individuals were saying to me, we're really interested in your festival, but in our country, we have to get a permit in order to submit to a festival in another country. So to submit to the United States, they have to get a permit. And apparently they're expensive or they're somewhat costly. And so that financial barrier is a real challenge for them. So the film is done, but it's just trying to get it out of their world into someone else's global space, which I just never thought about. That's not something American and Canadian filmmakers have to even address. They can just submit their films to any festival they desire. So those are two things.
To piggyback off of Kathy a little bit, I would say with the readers, being international, the language is going to be probably something that we have to focus on, because all the scripts have to be written and submitted in English so they can be refereed by our judges. What that can be as a challenge is that if you're from a different country, let's say you're writing in Urdu or you're writing in Mandarin, and the readers, we at this point in time, we just don't have that that depth in our readers to read those international languages in their native language. So that places a challenge on that playwright to work on transcribing their works into English so that it can be read and appreciated. But that's one of the, I think, one of the issues of an international festival, that we will probably over the long term come up with some other solutions. But at this point in time, that is a big challenge, or that is a challenge rather. I would also want to say that usually with our readers, we have submissions coming in from what I call people who have stories in their hearts and their minds. But we also have some celebrities and award-winning playwrights participating. And I would love for the festival to continue to stay relevant to both populations. I mean, we've got people whose works will be featured that have won many awards, have been at national, they've been at as I said before, Atlanta, different places, and have won awards. And their works are going to be featured in a similar format as, let's say, someone whose first time their work has been submitted. Hopefully the dialogue and the interaction between them will be encouraging to both. So we just want to make sure we keep that balance and that relevancy so that both of those types of playwrights will find the festival a place to want to be.
I think that the festival itself provides a platform. I mean, you can do all the work, and put in all the hard work, but if no one sees it, what matters? And I think that we're providing a platform for them or a stage for them to put it out there to be seen. And I think that's the most important thing about doing this, is that we're providing that opportunity straight across the board. You go through the same process. There's no favoritism, so to speak. Your work is being judged by the same one that's judging everything else. Right. And so then you have that opportunity. Now, once we put you on the stage, then it's up to you to take it from there. Like they say, you can always take somebody in a restaurant and feed them, but if they're not hungry enough, they're not going to eat.
Sure.
And so we're providing that platform. So if you're hungry enough, that means you're going to pursue it because of the connections that you're going to make with this festival. We call it Pacific Northwest Multicultural Festival. We could have called it the Black Festival. We could have, but that's not what it's about. It's about bringing in groups together. And let's see what are the similarities that exist between us all. And how can we take that story and interwove into a performance to where we all are in agreement that this is what exists. These are some of the solutions, because we're always being hit with problems.
True.
But we don't have to, but no one wants to come to us with solutions.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to get bogged down with the problems. We want to know, what do you think? Not what we think, but what you think, because it's your work. Now, like I said again, we're going to give you the platform to do it. Now it's up to you to let us know how you feel about that, because we know how we feel. Because once your work is selected, that means there's some worth to it, and that we feel that we can do a job for you. And we're inviting other producers and a whole bit to the festival, so that your work can be seen. But we also want to make sure that you understand that, number one, it is a safe place. I know a lot of folks haven't been to Portland before, so don't worry about what you had saw on television. It's not like that. And hopefully the weather holds up with us, that you get a chance to see all the beautiful greenery that's around here. I mean, you look at it, we're what? From where I sit, we're about an hour and a half at the most from the ocean, from the Pacific Ocean. We have the mountains, we have the forests. So there's a lot that's happening here that you don't hear about, but you hear about the negative things. We want to bring you in here, and we want to make this a destination for not only for the festival, but for people who have not been here to gain a great experience. Because we can do all the hard work we want, again, when I talk about platform, but if we don't provide the experience, then it doesn't do us any good to put all the hard work out there. Because if the experience is bad, you're not coming back.
That's true.
Say that. So true.
There you
so
go.
True.
And,
so true.
and Angela, piggybacking off of what Jerry was talking about, we are providing an opportunity for these artisans to network with one another, to meet one another, to speak with one another, where otherwise they might not have ever known of each other, just because we're all over the place nowadays and our lives tend to move so quickly, and often we're going from one project to another project, and we just, if you are not a member of my little circle,
That's
I
right.
don't branch out that much. So not only will the film people meet other film people, but they will also meet playwrights, and you never know, that could be a great collaboration between a playwright and a filmmaker. Who knows what might come from that? And if nothing else, just to have a comrade in arms and to exchange numbers. And as you go on, once you leave Portland, you've had a great experience, you've loved being at the festival. Months later, you can plug back in with people and just say, hey, how's it going? How's it going? And in essence, what this festival is going to do, it's going to expand the global community of artists, because that way we can help take care of each other as human beings.
Absolutely.
We want to remove you out of your comfort zone and
Yes.
put you out there, like Kathryn said, and put you out there among your peers whom you would not have had a conversation with, or who you would not have known if you had not attended the festival or know someone that attended the festival. So we take you out of your comfort zone and put you out there where you feel confident enough about your work, where you know that your work can gain merits, And so we just providing an opportunity for a platform, and which likely what we do with the theater company, passing on a theater company.
Mm-hmm.
We use theater as a platform of discussions of issues that affect our community. So people have a reference in which to talk about those particular subject matters. The festival is providing that opportunity for you to step outside your comfort zone and to get and to really get down into deep conversations with your peers.
Mhm.
Because August may be able to produce a play on less money than what I can produce, but I wouldn't know that unless I had a conversation with him. And then he may be able to provide me, and then he'll be able to provide me with some tips.
There you go.
So you know,
Absolutely.
it's a snowball effect, and where
Yeah.
we all work together and we help one another,
Mhm.
because that's the only way we're going to be able to make this thing work.
That is what
Another,
the arts is all about. I'm sorry, August, were you about to
oh,
add something to that?
I was just going to piggyback on both of them. Another benefit, I guess you may call, for the Readers Theater, we're all live. So you also have actors there. And that same momentum that we were talking about for the playwrights as far as networking is also true with in the playwrights. Even from our first attempt in 2021, there were many actors who got continued employment uh, after our first festival in 2021. And many of them will hopefully be returning. If not, there's always new talent, new people who are willing to participate in the readings, especially because it is literally all live. Nothing is videotaped. That's technology is not really, except for having the lights cut on, and but that's pretty much all the technology you get with the readers. So everything else is live. So, but those actors also network with one another and also meet with playwrights and meet with these other celebrities. So it is a mutually beneficial and mutually collegial atmosphere for all attendees.
Absolutely. So we're going to wind this up, this first episode of the B-roll, the backstage pass to the PNMC. And as we wind this up, I would love to hear from each of you. What is one word that you want to share with everyone listening or watching about the festival? Just one word that you would either use to describe the festival, or one word that really describes what the festival means to you. And we're going to start with you, Jerry.
Enthusiasm.
Okay.
You said one word, so I'm gonna limit myself to one word, because believe me, I can talk all day.
Oh yeah.
And if
Yeah.
I talk long enough, I'll pass the collection plate and take up a collection. But
There
I'm
you
Will there
go.
be one? Will there be one? Amen. It is Good
Amen.
Friday, okay? So
Amen.
hey,
That's right.
we can get a
Amen.
sermon in. We can do that. What about you, Kathryn?
Ah, gosh. I would say courage. Courage to put yourself out. Courage to put yourself out.
So we have
And also
enthusiasm.
courage to hear feedback, because that's one thing with August's event with the Readers Theater and with the Film Fest. You're going to hear some feedback from people. You may hear it in a very structured environment, or you may just hear it as someone passes you on the street. They remember they were in your reading or they saw your film and they recognize you and they want to share something with you. You have to have the courage to, the receptive courage to hear what they say. Because at the end of the day, you're creating your work not so much for you, some of it's for you, but it's also for your audience. And your audience is going to be diverse. That's going to be the great thing of this festival. You will
yes.
have a diverse audience and see how your work resonates with them.
Absolutely. We have enthusiasm. We have courage. August, what are you going to round us up with?
Wow, no pressure. I
No
would
pressure.
say, I would say voice. This whole festival and festivals, especially that deal with multicultural backgrounds, we are wanting to bring the voice, the authentic voice of people from all parts of the world. Many of their voices have been ignored, or in some cases stifled, or just not considered a good fit. A festival like this allows a person, regardless of your location or your orientation or your status in life, to put your thoughts down, to put your thoughts on a paper for, or whether it's going to become a film, or you want to share it as a reading, and bring it forth. Because if you don't write that story, like so many other stories and voices, they will soon be gone. So I would say this festival voice would be my one word.
So we have enthusiasm, courage, and poise. All right.
Voice.
Well,
Voice.
oh, you said voice. I thought you
Voice.
said voice.
Voice. To give voice.
Okay, so
to our experience.
enthusiasm, courage, and voice.
Yes.
All right, so that is what it reminded me of that India Ari song, Strength, Courage, and Wisdom. I wanted to see if I could come up with a tune real quick, but singing is not my ministry, and I'm gonna stay in my lane. Okay, I'm gonna stay in my lane tonight. You will not get me out there slipping like this. All right, so Jerry, August, and Kathryn, thank you all so much for being here on the B-Roll, and I look forward to seeing you all, obviously, at the festival, and of course, we'll be talking in the weeks and the months ahead. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela.
This is just you're a beautiful spirit. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right, that is it for the first episode of the B-Roll. Stay tuned to the PNMC's Facebook page, YouTube, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming episodes. We'll be talking to our co-chairs in the future, also some of our panelists. People will be teaching workshops. All of that information is coming down the pipeline. Also, please be sure to check out the website so that you can, number one, make sure that you get your festival passes, your accommodations, know when to come to Portland, August the 17th through the 20th. Of course, this year's theme is celebrating our differences together. Again, my name is Angela Ray, and we look forward to seeing you on the B-Roll in the future. Enjoy the rest of your evening.